All right, moments ago, 80,000 pages just hit the internet related to the assassination of John F. Kennedy on November 22nd, 1963, and a lot of stuff that happened before that. For instance, was Oswald under surveillance by the FBI? Was he checking in with the FBI? Was he being monitored by the CIA? It's a lot of documents. Now, don't believe the headlines. They're out there right now. Oh, this is a big nothing burger. Who can go through 80,000 pages that fast? Some people are putting it into ChatGPT and saying, well, ChatGPT says it's nothing big. Don't buy it. There's some really explosive stuff in here, potentially. I got my hands on a couple. Just have to process a couple of things, and we'll be on it in just a moment or two. Breaking news tonight, and President Trump made good on his promise, as he's been doing basically every day since he became president, huh? America just not accustomed to this. President Trump broke the mold, both in term one and this time around as well. It's pretty great. All right. We have a couple of other items to touch on. First, number one, we had a splashdown, a good old-fashioned splashdown today.
And splashdown. Crew 9 back on Earth.
How about that? Splashdown. Kind of old-timey, right? The rescued astronauts, Sonny and Butch, are back on planet Earth, along with 2 Russians, thanks to Elon Musk. Interesting. In the olden days, they took them out of the capsule and they got on a helicopter. They took the whole thing and put it on a boat. Now, for one moment, I was a little bit worried about those inside. Did you see the video when they were coming down? At one point, yeah, they're waving, but there was about a 90-second spread there where they weren't moving too much. But they're home, safe and sound, and that's fantastic. It's a new thing, the splashdown, right? Because, well, we were accustomed to the space shuttle landing on wheels, but we haven't seen that in what, 15, 16 years? There it comes, and it threw its landing gear down at the very last second. You know, some people of a certain age are totally unfamiliar with the idea of people going into outer space. I like that the splashdown is back, the old-timey technology. Mercury, Apollo, what else? Gemini, right? They would go up and the little capsule would come back just like it did today. And here, they'd actually pile out into a raft. How long were the astronauts up there, and how long were they supposed to be up there? Quite a discrepancy, right? 279 days. It was supposed to be 8 days. I feel a little bit guilty. It wasn't like the whole country was like, you know, on the edge of their seat, worried about these folks. I kind of forgot about them. The election was going on and a lot of other stuff, but thank goodness they're home, and thank goodness Elon Musk had a few spare rockets laying around, all right? That guy is very, very special, and so is the man he's working for, the 45th and 47th President of the United States, President Trump. You know, every day I come in and some people say, oh, there's not much going on in the news, and my friends are just talking about what's on Netflix and that kind of thing. But these are awesome, and kind of unexpected times, right? It looked pretty grim there between 2021 and Election Day in 2024, right? At times, the January 6th stuff that they hyped and overreacted to and went crazy with in an effort to cancel Trump and cancel MAGA. It didn't work, but boy, were they serious. They canceled the most important communicator in the world, Donald Trump. They deprived him of his favorite means of communication, Twitter, and then Facebook. It's kind of amazing. We can't let this happen again. That too, well, back then they were kind of punks. You know, Dorsey and Zuckerberg, that they could have this much power. They did. They've gotten a little bit better lately. I'm glad, but it's too much power for these two unelected guys. What else happened over the past 4 years before Trump won? Remember the DeSantis phase? Oh boy, a lot of people who are on the MAGA train right now were saying, you better get to like and know DeSantis. He doesn't have the baggage of Trump. I put up with a lot during that. I called on him to not run all the way back in 2022. It was brutal, but kind of fun at the same time. What did they do to Trump? They raided his house. All right, and a lot of other horrible things. They arrested him, not once, not twice, actually 4 times. And here are the prosecutors. These lowlifes were actually waging full-time legal campaigns against President Trump, and not one lawyer, really, outside of President Trump's circle, the legal community, they were okay with this, even though they knew it was rotten. He spent all that time in stupid courtrooms all over the country, when he could have been campaigning. This was part of the penalty, right? Put him in court so he can't campaign. How long was he in there? About 6 weeks. If you add it all up, and then you got to factor in weekends that he had to worry about it, depositions. We didn't factor that in the middle of an election season. Yet he still pulled it off. And he beat all of these guys. How many? There were a lot, including Tim Scott. Mike Pence, fat chance, huh? And the rest. Well, he clinched it in record time. In March of 2024, no one had ever clinched the nomination that early. And then in the general, he annihilates Joe Biden. I mean, wow, we'll never see anything like this again. A knockout blow about 6 minutes in.
And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
And he was out. Matter of weeks, right? Kamala Harris, they threw her in there. That disaster of a person, they actually thought, that's how little regard they have for us. They thought that they could fool us. Look at that electoral map. Every swing state, all of those. I mean, it's kind of a dream. It's kind of a dream when you think about it, and election night. These are remarkable times, and we shouldn't take any day for granted as he's making this progress, as we're making this progress. And one other thing about this, he's the 45th and the 47th president. That's also history. What, Grover Cleveland and President Trump. And the way things have been going with all the executive orders and bold initiatives and all of that stuff, it makes the Biden presidency seem somehow inconsequential and momentary, right? Like an aberration, just a small interruption. And we're taking care of it, and in many ways, erasing it, undoing all the damage that he did with executive orders and the bully pulpit and you name it, whatever power is at his disposal, legitimate constitutional power, he's using it, including the 80,000 brand new documents that just dropped a little while ago. All right. Now, there's one I have right here, and it's from, it looks like it's a CIA memo in July of 1967. The day after the assassination, Gary Underhill left Washington in a hurry. Late in the evening, he showed up at the home of friends in New Jersey. He was very agitated. A small clique within the CIA was responsible for the assassination, he confided, and he was afraid for his life and probably would have to leave the country. Less than 6 months later, Underhill was found dead, shot to death in his Washington, D.C. apartment. The coroner ruled it a suicide. J. Garrett Underhill had been an intelligence agent during World War II and was a recognized authority on limited warfare and small arms. He was also on intimate terms with a number of high-ranking CIA officials, arms dealer, broker, all this stuff. Clients, he actually bought equipment from the same place where Lee Harvey Oswald bought the rifle. This is good and very interesting. We also have this. It might be a crank letter that purports to be from John F. Kennedy Jr., sent to the U.S. Capitol, and it says, Dear Senator Biden, you are a traitor. Signed, John F. Kennedy, and it's actually it's sent from an address in Massachusetts where he may or may not have had property. 8,000 documents. We got to take our time with this, connect the dots, needle in the haystack. Can't just put it in ChatGPT and hope for the best. There's stuff that I think they're going to find, and maybe, probably shouldn't, but one interpretation says that the CIA and the FBI were actively monitoring and that they have record of a phone call placed by Oswald to the Soviet embassy in Mexico where he said the job is still on. Now, this is a summary based on the documents, and a lot of things are coming at us fast and furious, so we're not going to be able to process this fully for a while, but it's a huge step in the right direction. All we had until now, well, we had a lot, including the Zapruder film. All of the talk of the JFK assassination has my mind thinking about the attempted assassination on President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. if you put these two side by side, it makes more and more sense that the government was involved, probably in both, okay? The government, yeah, the first time around, and I think the government had its act together in 1963, more so now than then. They pulled it off back then. They couldn't quite pull it off now, right? It was incompetent. I'm so glad it failed this time, of course, but I'm deeply, deeply suspicious, and I think we all should be. Look, when the first assassination happened in 1963, it changed the country, right? I mean, everybody was shocked for decades that hung over the country. But think of all the things, some of the things that actually went right in Dallas that went wrong in Butler, Pennsylvania. For instance, after Kennedy was shot, whether it was by Oswald or the man on the grassy knoll, I believe it was Oswald and several other co-conspirators. It took 5 seconds for that limo to get out of the kill zone. That's all the way back in 1963. Fast forward to 2024, how long did it take President Trump for them to get him off the stage and into a car and out of the scene? 2 minutes. That's crazy. That's I think, a sign of a broken government. Once he's in the car inches away, doesn't know where to go, can't find the directions to the hospital because the GPS, they had no cell service. Also this, the gunman, Crooks, right, is running around literally like one of those ducks at a carnival, you know, going back and forth. Now, if you're in the Secret Service or in law enforcement and you don't see this guy running back and forth, well, we know now that they didn't see him in part because nobody was charged with looking at that building. It was literally, everybody thought other people were looking at that building. That's insane. Now, all of these years later, actually, it's been how long? 62 years since Dallas and the assassination of JFK. 30 years after the assassination, Frontline took a hard look at what happened. And they found a new film in addition to the Zapruder film. It's called the Hughes film. Check this out.
This film, shot by amateur cameraman Robert Hughes, shows the presidential motorcade approaching Dealey Plaza. Hughes stops filming for a few seconds and then starts again just as the limousine passes in front of the depository.
All right, and then these guys, they zoom in on the building. What can we see? Remember, you saw the gunman Crooks walk back and forth all over the place? There are only 2 witnesses who saw Oswald in that window.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.